I learned exactly how much my family valued my daughter the night I almost died. 6 weeks after giving birth, I was driving home after finishing an emergency compliance audit when a pickup truck ignored a stop sign and slammed into the driver's side of my car. I don't remember the impact. I remember waking up with blood in my mouth, a fractured collarbone, 3 broken ribs, a concussion, and the first thought that punched through the fog wasn't about me. It was about Emma, my 6-week-old daughter. Welcome to Silent Grudge Stories, where family secrets finally come to light and those everyone underestimated finally have a voice. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. I always love seeing how far these stories travel. And if you've ever wondered what happens when the person everyone underestimated finally stops staying silent, make sure to subscribe. Because this story is only beginning. She was home, waiting for me. My husband, Archie, was halfway across the country on a business trip. His flight wouldn't land for another 6 hours. Someone had to stay with our baby. My parents lived less than 20 minutes away. My mother answered on the 3rd ring. She listened. She knew I had been taken into surgery. She knew Emma was alone with a temporary sitter whose shift ended before midnight. Then she said 6 words I will never forget. "Grace, you'll figure something out. You always do." She hung up. 3 hours later, my grandfather walked into my hospital room carrying an old leather box. Everything I believed about my family collapsed before sunrise. But even that wasn't the part that destroyed them. Because what happened after I left that hospital cost them something they had spent decades protecting. Their version of the truth. Pain doesn't arrive all at once. It comes in layers. First, I noticed the stiffness around my neck. Then the weight of a sling around my shoulder. Then the sharp stab every time I tried to breathe too deeply. Finally, I heard Archie's voice through the speakerphone beside my bed. It sounded controlled. Too controlled. The kind of voice people use when they're terrified but refuse to let you hear it. "Grace, the sitter can't stay after 11. I called your mom." He stopped. He didn't have to continue. I already knew. "What did she say?" A long silence. Then, she said Lucas has an important weekend planned. Another pause. And she said, "You've always handled emergencies better than anyone." I closed my eyes. Not because I was surprised. Because I wasn't. That's the dangerous thing about favoritism. Eventually, it stops hurting before it even happens. It becomes predictable. Lucas had always been the center of my mother's universe. If he wanted something, everyone else adjusted. Birthdays, graduations, vacations, even family holidays somehow revolved around him. I used to think adulthood would change that. Instead, the stakes simply became higher. This time, the person paying the price wasn't me. It was my daughter. I didn't cry. The nurse standing beside my bed probably expected tears. Instead, I asked for my phone. She hesitated. "You should probably rest." "I'll rest after my daughter is safe." She handed it over. That sentence would become the first decision that changed everything. I opened the emergency contacts Archie, and I had prepared months before Emma was born. We'd interviewed several overnight newborn care specialists while I was still pregnant. Just in case, I prayed we'd never need them. 42 minutes later, a licensed newborn nurse unlocked our front door using the emergency code Archie texted her. She sanitized her hands, fed Emma, changed her diaper, then sent me one photo. Emma sleeping peacefully, tiny fingers curled against her cheek. I stared at that picture longer than I looked at my own x-rays. Because at that moment, a complete stranger had chosen my daughter faster than her own grandmother had. That realization lodged somewhere deep inside me. And it never left. About 20 minutes later, my phone vibrated again. "Mom." I almost ignored it. Almost. "Hello." Her voice sounded cheerful. Too cheerful. "Honey, are you feeling any better?" I didn't answer. She filled the silence herself. "I would have come, sweetheart, but Lucas has meetings all weekend. He's finally talking with investors. You understand how important that is." Investors. I looked toward the 4-pump beside my bed. Machines beeped steadily around me. Someone was wheeling another trauma patient down the hallway. I was in surgery. I know. I could have died. I know, Grace. Another pause. Then, you've always been the strong one. There it was. The sentence that had quietly defined my entire life. Not I'm sorry. Not how's Emma. Not do you need me. Just another reminder that my role in the family wasn't being loved. It was being dependable. I've already solved it. Oh, good. Her relief sounded genuine. Not because Emma was safe. Because she no longer had to help. She wished me a quick recovery. Hung up. And probably went right back to whatever mattered more than her granddaughter. That should have been the end of the night. It wasn't. Less than an hour later, Archie texted me a screenshot. Someone had tagged my mother on social media. She wasn't home. She wasn't helping Lucas prepare investor meetings. She was smiling at an exclusive countryside resort, wine glass in one hand, Lucas beside her laughing. Caption: celebrating new beginnings with my favorite person. Favorite person. The words sat on my screen like broken glass. Not because I hadn't always known. Because she'd finally written it where the whole world could see. I locked my phone, took one slow breath despite the pain in my ribs, and made a decision that felt strangely calm. For the first time in my life, I wasn't going to fix my family's problems before fixing my own. That decision had barely settled in my mind when I heard a soft knock at the hospital door. An elderly man stepped inside, leaning on a wooden cane. Arthur Hayes, my grandfather. In one hand, he carried an old leather box, worn smooth by time. He looked at the bruises on my face, then at the empty chair where my mother should have been. His expression didn't change. He simply placed the box carefully on the chair beside my bed, looked me straight in the eyes, and quietly said, "Grace, your mother didn't just abandon you tonight. She's been hiding the truth from you for over 20 years. Arthur doesn't sit down immediately. He keeps one hand resting on the leather box, as if it weighs far more than it should. For several seconds, neither of us speaks. The silence feels heavier than the pain in my ribs. Finally, he pulls the visitor's chair closer and lowers himself into it with the slow precision of someone who spent a lifetime choosing his words carefully. I almost didn't make it, he says quietly. I had to call 3 hospitals before someone told me where you were. I blink. You didn't know? He shakes his head. Your mother told me you had a minor accident. A bitter smile crosses his face. She said you'd probably be home tomorrow. He looks at the bruises covering my arms, the oxygen monitor, the 4. Then he exhales through his nose. I knew she was lying before I even reached the parking lot. That sentence settles somewhere deep inside me. Not because my mother lied, because she lied even to her own father while I was lying in intensive care. Arthur gently slides the leather box across the blanket. I've been carrying this for almost a year. The leather is cracked. The brass latch is scratched. It looks older than I remember. What is it? He doesn't answer. Instead, he asks a question. Grace, have you ever wondered why every family argument somehow ended with you apologizing? I almost laugh. That's just how my mother is. No. He looks directly into my eyes. That's how she trained everyone to see you. Minnie Hook. I feel my heartbeat quicken. He still hasn't opened the box. You remember your grandmother? Every day. His expression softens. She saw this coming. My throat tightens. Grandma Eleanor had died 11 months earlier. Everyone said it was peaceful, natural, simple. Arthur slowly runs his fingers across the worn leather. 3 months before she passed, she started writing everything down. I stare at the box. Everything. He nods once. Every lie. Another pause. Every manipulation. He watches my face carefully. And every time you quietly pay the price. A cold wave moves through my chest. I suddenly realize something. Arthur isn't surprised by what happened tonight. He's confirming it. I wanted to tell you earlier. His voice is almost apologetic. But Eleanor made me promise something. What? He doesn't hesitate. Don't save Grace before she's ready to stop saving everyone else. I stop breathing for a second. That sounds exactly like Grandma. She always knew how to say impossible things without raising her voice. Arthur smiles sadly. She believed you'd never believe us while you were still trying to protect your mother. A nurse knocks softly before entering. She checks my four, adjusts one monitor, then notices Arthur. Your grandfather? I nod. She smiles. You have a lovely family. Arthur and I exchange a look. Neither of us corrects her. After she leaves, he quietly says, sometimes strangers see the family you deserved. Minnie Hook. He finally opens the leather box. Not dramatically. Slowly. Inside, there isn't money. There isn't a will. There aren't legal documents. There are notebooks, old calendars, birthday cards, photographs, letters tied together with faded blue ribbon. My grandmother's handwriting covers almost everything. What am I looking at? Arthur picks up the smallest notebook. Evidence. Of what? He answers without emotion. That tonight wasn't the beginning. It was simply the first time you noticed. He doesn't let me read them. Not yet. Instead, he removes one envelope. Only one. Across the front, my grandmother had written, "For Grace." Only after she finally stops apologizing. I stare at my own name. The handwriting is unmistakable. When did she write this? The week Emma was born. I look up sharply. She knew she was dying. Arthur nods. And she knew your mother. Another Minnie Hook. Before I can ask another question, my phone vibrates again. Lucas. I almost ignore it. Almost. I answer. Grace. No hello. No concern. No asking if I'm alive. I've been trying to use Mom's business credit card. It keeps declining. I close my eyes. I don't know anything about that. Can you fix it? I genuinely think I misheard him. I'm in the hospital. I know. Another pause. But Mom says you usually know who to call. Arthur hears every word. His jaw tightens. Lucas keeps talking. The investors are still here. This is embarrassing. Embarrassing. My newborn spent hours waiting for someone to protect her. And my brother's emergency is a declined credit card. I answer calmly. I hope you figure something out. Silence. What? You always do. I end the call. The room becomes perfectly quiet. Arthur doesn't smile. He simply whispers, "Good." For the first time, someone isn't asking me to be the bigger person. Someone isn't telling me to forgive. Someone isn't explaining my mother's behavior. He's simply watching me stop participating in it. That feels strangely unfamiliar. And strangely comforting. An hour later, Archie finally lands. He calls the second his phone reconnects. I've got Emma. His voice is shaking. I've got her. Only then do I realize I've been holding my breath for hours. Is she okay? She's sleeping. He hesitates. Grace. I stopped by your parents' house. I frown. What? I thought maybe your mom changed her mind. He laughs once. Without humor. She wasn't there. My stomach drops. I know. No. His voice becomes quieter. I mean, the house was empty. Completely empty. No cars. No lights. No Lucas. No Deborah. No Martin. Nothing. Then Archie says something that changes everything. I called one of the neighbors. What did they say? He exhales. They left yesterday morning. Yesterday. Before my accident. Before anyone knew I'd be hospitalized. Before Emma would need someone. My mother never intended to be available. She hadn't chosen Lucas over me at the last minute. She had planned an entire weekend, knowing no one would be there if something happened. It shouldn't matter. Accidents aren't predictable. But somehow, that realization hurts even more. Arthur slowly closes the leather box. I didn't come tonight just because of the accident. He stands, leaning on his cane. I came because Eleanor told me this day would eventually arrive. I stare at him. What day? The day your mother finally pushes too far. He gently places the envelope with my name into my hands, but keeps the rest of the box. You can't read everything tonight. Why? Because if I give you every answer now, you won't know which people deserve the truth first. He turns toward the door, stops. Without looking back, he says one final sentence. Tomorrow morning, someone is going to call pretending they're worried about you. They're not. They're worried about something else. Then he walks out of the room, leaving me alone, with one envelope, 1,000 questions, and the overwhelming feeling that my family's worst betrayal had absolutely nothing to do with abandoning my daughter. I don't open my grandmother's letter that night. I want to, more than anything. But Arthur's last words keep echoing in my head. You'll know which people deserve the truth first. If Grandma waited until after her death, there had to be a reason. So I slide the envelope into the drawer beside my hospital bed and force myself to sleep. I manage maybe 40 minutes. The next morning starts with another emergency. Not mine. Emma develops a slight fever. Nothing dangerous. Probably stress from the sudden change in routine. Still, Archie calls our pediatrician before sunrise. I listen to him calmly describing every symptom while rocking our daughter against his shoulder through the video call. Watching him become the father Emma deserves gives me strength. It also reminds me of something painful. The only people acting like family aren't related to me by blood. At exactly 8:13 a.m., my phone rings. Arthur predicted it perfectly. Mom. I answer. Her voice is trembling, almost convincing. Oh, Grace, how are you feeling? I'm recovering. Oh, thank goodness. A short pause. Then, the bank froze one of my cards this morning. There it is. Not, how's Emma? Not, how are your injuries? The first real reason for the call appears less than 30 seconds in. I don't know anything about your cards. I know, sweetheart. I just thought maybe since you're good with financial systems. Financial systems. She doesn't even realize she's revealing herself. Every time she needs something, I'm suddenly the capable daughter again. I'll figure it out. She laughs softly. I knew you would. No. Silence. What do you mean? I said I'll figure out why you're calling. Not your card. She goes quiet. For several seconds. I hear nothing. Then her tone changes. Sharper. You're behaving differently. Am I? You've never spoken to me like this. I look through the hospital window. Morning sunlight spills across the parking lot. I've never almost died before. Another silence. Longer this time. Then she hangs up. No goodbye. Mini revenge. Small, but satisfying. 30 minutes later, Lucas posts another video. He's standing in front of a luxury SUV outside the same countryside resort, smiling, talking directly to the camera. Big announcements coming soon. Thousands of people like the post. I notice something else. The SUV isn't moving. Every picture shows it parked. Then I zoom in. A yellow paper sits beneath the windshield wiper. Not decoration. A notice. Interesting. Archie notices it too. You think it got repossessed? I don't know. But I think we're about to find out. Minnie Hook. Around noon, one of my coworkers visits the hospital. Her name is Monica. We've worked together for 8 years. She brings flowers, chocolate, a ridiculous balloon that says get well soon. She sits beside my bed. We've all been worried. I smile. Thank you. Then she says something completely unexpected. I almost called your mom yesterday. You know her. Not personally. Monica hesitates. She called the office. I freeze. What? Yesterday afternoon, while I was still recovering from surgery, my mother called my workplace. What did she want? Monica looks uncomfortable. She said you were emotionally unstable after childbirth. Every muscle in my body tightens. And asked whether someone else should temporarily oversee your department. I don't speak. Monica continues. I thought it was strange. She kept repeating that you weren't thinking clearly. There it is. Another humiliation. Another attempt to control the narrative. She isn't worried about me. She's protecting herself before I can speak. Monica reaches into her purse. I almost forgot. She hands me a folded business card. Our receptionist wrote down the number she called from. I stare at it. Not my parents' house. Not her cell phone. A private business line. Registered to Hayes Consulting Group. Consulting. Since when? Minnie Hook. As soon as Monica leaves, I search the company online. Very little appears. Recently registered. No website. No clients. No reviews. Just one listed executive. Lucas Hayes. Interesting. Very interesting. An hour later, Arthur returns, this time carrying coffee instead of the leather box. He immediately notices my expression. You searched something? I nod. Hayes Consulting Group. For the first time, Arthur actually looks surprised. You found that already. What is it? He doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he asks another question. Has Lucas ever successfully kept a job longer than 6 months? No. So, he gently sets the coffee down. Who do you think has been paying the employees? Minnie Hook. Employees? Plural? What employees? Arthur simply says. Exactly. Before I can press further, the television mounted in my hospital room suddenly catches my attention. Local news. A business segment. One headline flashes briefly across the bottom of the screen. State launches investigation into shell companies linked to fraudulent investment solicitations. Arthur follows my eyes. Neither of us says anything. But I notice something. His fingers tighten around his coffee cup. He changes the subject. Too quickly. Read your grandmother's letter tonight. Not before. Tonight. Why? Because after today, you'll never look at your mother the same way again. Minnie Hook. That evening, Archie leaves briefly to take Emma home. The room becomes quiet again. I finally pick up the envelope. My name. Grace. Written in Grandma Eleanor's careful handwriting. The paper feels fragile. Almost sacred. I slowly unfold it. The first sentence steals the air from my lungs. If you're reading this, Deborah has finally chosen Lucas over your child too. I stop. Completely. She knew. Years ago. She knew exactly how the story would end. I keep reading. Every line hurts more than the last. Grandma writes that she spent years trying to convince my mother to stop treating me like the family's safety net. She begged. She argued. She even threatened to expose everything herself. Nothing changed. Then, near the bottom of the page, one paragraph is underlined. Grace, there is one secret I refuse to take to my grave. Your mother didn't just hide the truth from you. She hid it from Lucas too. He has spent his entire adult life believing a lie that made him exactly the man she needed him to become. I read the sentence again and again. Lucas is also a victim. That makes no sense. Unless the entire family has been living inside a story that only Deborah controls. Before I can process that thought, my phone vibrates. Unknown number. I answer. A calm male voice says only one sentence. Mrs. Reynolds. I'm calling because your signature appears on documents belonging to Hayes Consulting Group. Then he adds the words that make my blood run cold. We need to ask you a few questions before federal investigators do. I don't answer immediately. The man on the other end waits. Professional. Patient. As if he already knows my world is about to split open. Mrs. Reynolds? I'm here. My name is Daniel Mercer. I'm a forensic accountant retained by a group of private investors. Investors. The same word my mother had used. The same word Lucas kept repeating online. I believe your identity was used without your knowledge. Every muscle in my body locks. What do you mean? I'd rather explain in person. I can't leave the hospital. I know. Another pause. I'll come to you. 45 minutes later. Daniel Mercer walks into my room, carrying a slim black briefcase. Mid-40s. Neatly dressed. Calm eyes. He doesn't waste time. He places a folder on the table between us. Before we begin, I need to ask one question. I nod. Have you ever signed anything for your brother? I think carefully. No. Power of attorney? No. Business partnership? No. Loan guarantees? No. He studies my face for several seconds, then quietly says, I believe you. Minnie Hook. He opens the folder. The first document looks ordinary. Articles of incorporation. Hayes Consulting Group. Then he turns the page. My stomach drops. There it is. My name. Grace Reynolds. Chief Financial Officer. My signature. Perfectly copied. I don't breathe. I've never seen this. I know. That's not my signature. It almost is. Almost. I lean closer. Tiny differences. The angle of the G. The pressure on the final S. Someone practiced. A lot. Daniel slides another page toward me. Then another. Then another. Every document carries my forged signature. Bank authorizations. Investment disclosures. Corporate resolutions. Employment records. Everywhere. Grace Reynolds. The responsible executive. The financial expert. The trustworthy professional. Someone built an entire company using my reputation. Without telling me. Minnie Hook. How much? The words barely leave my mouth. Daniel answers immediately. Roughly $6 million. $6 million. The room begins spinning. Not because of the number. Because my professional career suddenly makes sense. The fake company needed credibility. They borrowed mine. They specifically listed your credentials. He flips another page. Director of Compliance. My current position. Certified Fraud Examiner. Correct. Corporate Governance Specialist. Also correct. Someone knew my resume almost perfectly. Too perfectly. Only family would. A soft knock interrupts us. Arthur. He walks in carrying Emma's favorite stuffed rabbit. He immediately notices the documents. Then Daniel. Neither man seems surprised. You already met. Daniel stands. We spoke yesterday. I stare between them. You knew each other. Arthur nods. I hired him. You hired a forensic accountant. 3 months ago. 3 months. Why? Arthur slowly removes his glasses. Because your grandmother asked me to. I feel my pulse racing. Eleanor started noticing unusual mail. Business envelopes arriving for Lucas. Bank statements disappearing. Your mother refusing to answer simple questions. He looks toward the forged documents. So we started asking our own. Daniel carefully continues. We originally thought Lucas was the mastermind. Arthur quietly interrupts. No, he isn't smart enough. Silence. The words hang heavily in the room. Daniel nods. After reviewing everything, we reached the same conclusion. Minnie Hook. My mother. Neither of them answers. Which is answer enough. Daniel opens another folder. This is where things become complicated. He spreads several photographs across my hospital tray. Security camera stills. Lucas entering banks. Lucas signing papers. Lucas attending meetings. Lucas smiling beside investors. He participated, Daniel says. But he genuinely believed the company was legitimate. I stare at the photographs. Every smile looks real. Every handshake. Every presentation. Every interview. Lucas wasn't pretending. He truly believed he was running a successful company. Then, who was actually behind everything? Arthur answers the question before I ask it. Your mother. Another silence. Longer this time. She built everything. Lucas became the face. You became the credibility. I became. He finishes quietly. The witness. Minnie Hook. Suddenly, everything Grandma wrote starts fitting together. Lucas wasn't simply the favorite. He was also being controlled. Protected. Used. Exactly like me. Only differently. I carried responsibility. He carried illusion. Neither of us had been allowed to live our own lives. My phone buzzes. Mom. Again. I decline it. Immediately. She calls again. Declined. Again. Third time. Voicemail. Seconds later. A text arrives. Grace, please answer. Something terrible happened. I almost laugh. Now something is terrible. Another text. People are asking questions about Lucas's company. Another. Did you tell someone anything? Another. Please call me before this gets worse. Mini revenge. For the first time, she doesn't sound in control. Daniel notices. They've figured out someone is investigating. Arthur nods. They're scared, but not because of Grace. Because lies always collapse faster than people expect. An hour later, Archie returns with Emma. The second I hold my daughter, everything becomes clear. This is no longer about revenge. This is about making sure Emma never grows up inside a family built on manipulation. Never apologizes for existing. Never mistakes usefulness for love. The cycle ends here. That evening, Another unexpected visitor arrives. Martin. My father. He looks older than he did 4 days ago. His shirt is wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot. He hesitates at the doorway, almost afraid to enter. Can we talk? Arthur quietly stands. So can I. No. Dad shakes his head. This is between me and Grace. Arthur studies him for a moment, then leaves without saying a word. The door closes. Dad remains standing, unable to look directly at me. Finally, he whispers, I didn't know it had gotten this big. I don't answer. He keeps talking. I thought your mother was helping Lucas. I thought she borrowed your name because you wouldn't mind. Borrowed my name, as if that somehow makes forgery acceptable. Then he says something that completely changes the direction of the story. I found something. My heartbeat accelerates. What? He slowly reaches inside his jacket, removes a small silver key, places it carefully on the bedside table. It opens your grandmother's safety deposit box. I stare at the key. I didn't even know she had one. Neither did your mother. He finally looks into my eyes. Because Eleanor made me promise that Deborah would never find what's inside. He stands, starts walking toward the door, stops, without turning around. He quietly says, if your mother gets there first, everything your grandmother spent years protecting disappears forever. Then he leaves, leaving me staring at a tiny silver key, realizing the leather box wasn't the biggest secret Grandma left behind. It was only the first one. I don't sleep that night. Every time I close my eyes, I see the silver key, the forged signatures, my grandmother's letter, Emma sleeping peacefully in Archie's arms. For years, I believed my family had one favorite. Now I realize something much darker. My mother never loved control because she favored Lucas. She favored Lucas because control was easier through him. I wasn't the forgotten daughter. I was the useful one. He wasn't the loved son. He was the obedient one. Neither of us had ever been free. That thought follows me until sunrise. At 8 o'clock, Daniel Mercer returns, this time carrying only one envelope. The bank confirmed the safety deposit box. I immediately sit up despite the pain shooting through my ribs. My grandmother really had one. He nods. Opened 27 years ago. 27. Long before Lucas finished high school. Long before I got married. Long before Emma was even imaginable. Can my mother access it? No. Relief washes over me, then disappears. Unless. Daniel hesitates. There is one legal exception. Mini hook. If someone presents evidence proving Eleanor intended to change ownership before her death, the bank is required to suspend access until the dispute is resolved. I stare at him. My mother would never have that. Daniel doesn't answer. Arthur does. Don't underestimate someone who has spent 30 years rewriting reality. The room becomes silent. My phone vibrates. Another message. From Mom. Grace, we need to talk face to face. Seconds later. Another. You're misunderstanding everything. Another. Lucas is falling apart. I don't answer. 30 seconds later. She sends a photograph. Lucas. Sitting alone inside what looks like his office. Head in his hands. Caption. Look what you're doing to your brother. The old strategy. Different day. Same weapon. Guilt. I lock the phone. Arthur notices. How many years did that work? I don't even think. My whole life. And today. I delete the conversation. Not anymore. Mini revenge. Late that afternoon. The hospital discharges me. Walking hurts. Breathing hurts. Everything hurts. But holding Emma, while leaving those automatic doors somehow makes every step lighter. Outside, the summer air feels different. Cleaner. Almost unfamiliar. Archie loads our bags into the car. Daniel follows in another vehicle. Arthur insists on driving separately. We're all heading to the same place. Not home. The bank. The safety deposit vault occupies the basement level. Cold. Quiet. Almost ceremonial. A senior manager greets us. Mrs. Reynolds? I nod. We've been expecting you. Those words immediately make me uneasy. Expecting me? Why? The manager notices my expression. Someone came yesterday asking about this box. Minnie Hook. My pulse jumps. My mother! He hesitates. I can't disclose identities. That answer tells me enough. He unlocks the first door, then the second, then gestures toward a small private room. A long steel box rests on the table. This belonged to Eleanor Hayes. He leaves, closing the door behind him. No one moves. Arthur slowly places a silver key into my hand. Your grandmother wanted you to do this. I slide the key into the lock. Turn it. The mechanism clicks. Inside, there isn't jewelry. There isn't cash. There aren't property deeds. Instead, there are dozens of VHS tapes, mini DV cassettes, audio recorders, photo albums, several thick journals, and one sealed envelope, written across the front. For the day Deborah can no longer stop the truth. I stop breathing. Arthur quietly closes his eyes. As soon as I saw her handwriting, I knew she'd really done it. Daniel carefully removes one journal. The first page reads, Year 1. Below it, a sentence. Deborah lied again today. Grace apologized for something Lucas did. My chest tightens. He opens another notebook. Year 4. Deborah convinced Grace to cancel her school trip so Lucas could attend soccer camp. Another. Year 9. Grace cried herself to sleep after Deborah gave Lucas her birthday gift and told her she was old enough to understand. Another. Year 15. Deborah told everyone Grace refused to help with hospital bills. Grace secretly paid every invoice. I can't read anymore. These aren't memories. They're evidence. My grandmother documented my childhood. Year after year. Lie after lie. Archie gently squeezes my hand. You weren't imagining it. Those 5 words break something inside me. Because for years, I'd wondered if maybe I was exaggerating. Maybe I really had been too sensitive. Maybe Mom hadn't meant it. Now, every excuse dies on that table. Daniel opens one of the VHS cases. There's a handwritten label. Christmas dinner. Don't erase. Another. Lucas graduation. Another. Grace scholarship meeting. Arthur slowly exhales. She recorded everything. Minnie Hook. Suddenly, someone pounds on the vault door. Hard. Once. Twice. 3 times. Everyone freezes. The manager's voice comes through the intercom. Mrs. Reynolds, I'm terribly sorry, but there's someone here demanding access to your room. My heart immediately knows. Mom. The pounding becomes louder. Then her voice echoes through the steel hallway. Grace, open this door. No one moves. She keeps yelling. I know you're in there. Arthur quietly whispers. Don't. I nod. Another bang. Then another. Deborah is no longer the elegant, composed woman everyone admires. She's desperate, which means she's losing control. Then, she screams something that makes the entire room fall silent. Those journals don't tell the whole story. Nobody inside had mentioned journals. Nobody. Not the manager. Not Daniel. Not Arthur. Not me. She knows exactly what's inside the box. Daniel slowly turns toward me. So, she already knew these existed. Arthur closes his eyes, almost as if he's been expecting this moment for years. The manager's voice returns. Security is escorting the individual from the building. The shouting grows more distant, then disappears completely. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Daniel looks back at the journals, then quietly says, I don't think these are what she's afraid of. I frown. What do you mean? He reaches beneath the journals, lifting the false bottom of the safety deposit box. Hidden underneath is a small black recorder. No label. No date. Just one strip of masking tape. On it, my grandmother had written 4 words. Play this together. Arthur's hands begin to shake. Not from age. From recognition. His face loses all color. He whispers, almost to himself, Eleanor, what did you leave behind? No one touches the recorder. Not immediately. The room feels smaller now. The steel walls. The journals. The hidden compartment. Everything suddenly seems less important than the tiny black device lying in front of us. Arthur stares at it without blinking. I've never seen this before. Daniel looks at him. You're sure? Arthur nods slowly. Eleanor showed me the journals, the letters, the photographs, but never this. Minnie Hook, if Grandma hid something, even from Arthur, then this recording wasn't simply evidence. It was insurance. Daniel carefully places the recorder on the table. It's battery-powered. He turns it over. Dust covers the back. The batteries have long since died. I'll need power. The bank manager quietly returns carrying a charging cable. No questions. No curiosity. He simply plugs it into a portable adapter and leaves again. The tiny charging light begins blinking. Red. Everyone waits. 30 seconds. 1 minute. 2. Finally, the light turns green. Daniel presses play. Static. Several seconds of static. Then, my grandmother's voice. Soft. Calm. Exactly the way I remember. Arthur immediately covers his mouth. I grip Archie's hand so tightly my fingers ache. If you're hearing this, then Deborah has gone further than I believed she ever would. The room becomes perfectly silent. Grandma continues. Arthur, if you're with Grace, don't interrupt. Arthur lowers his eyes. He doesn't move again. Grace, I know you've spent your whole life believing your mother loved Lucas more. A pause. Then, that isn't true. I stop breathing. What? Another pause. Then Grandma says something none of us expects. Deborah never loved either of you properly. Silence. Even Daniel stops taking notes. Lucas wasn't raised to be happy. He was raised to stay dependent. You weren't raised to succeed. You were raised to rescue him. Another mini hook. Grandma's voice never changes. No anger. No tears. Only certainty. Your mother discovered very early that keeping one child helpless guaranteed the other would never leave. Arthur quietly whispers, My God! The recording continues. Whenever Lucas failed, you worked harder. Whenever Lucas made mistakes, you fixed them. Whenever Lucas wanted something, your mother made sure you felt responsible. Every sentence explains another piece of my life. Not isolated memories. A system. A pattern. A design. Then comes the sentence that completely changes everything. Lucas still doesn't know the company was never his. Daniel immediately looks at me. Arthur closes his eyes. I barely hear the next words. Deborah built it using your name because investors trusted your reputation. And she let Lucas believe it belonged to him. Minnie Hook. Archie slowly shakes his head. So Lucas never owned anything. Daniel finishes the thought. He was the product. Nobody speaks. Because that's exactly what he was. The company wasn't built for Lucas. It was built around him. He became the smiling face. Grace became the respected professional. Deborah stayed invisible. The recording isn't over. Grandma's breathing grows slightly heavier. She sounds tired, sicker. Grace, one day your mother will lose control. When that happens, don't destroy your brother. I look at Arthur, confused. Grandma continues. He'll deserve consequences, but he also deserves the truth. That sentence lands differently, because until this moment, I'd wanted Lucas to suffer exactly as I had. Now, I'm no longer sure. The recording clicks off. Nobody moves. Nobody says anything. Almost a full minute passes. Finally, Daniel quietly speaks. I think we just found the motive. Arthur nods. Control. Daniel agrees. No. Dependency. He points toward the recorder. Everything revolves around dependency. Grace becomes responsible. Lucas becomes incapable. Deborah becomes indispensable. Minnie Hook. My phone suddenly explodes with notifications. One after another. Messages. Calls. Voicemails. Emails. Unknown numbers. I unlock the screen. News articles. Social media. Someone has leaked information. The headline appears everywhere. Investigation expands into Hayes Consulting Group. Another. Investors claim corporate fraud. Another. CEO Lucas Hayes unavailable for comment. Archie frowns. That's happening fast. Too fast. Daniel's phone rings. He answers immediately, listens, says almost nothing, then hangs up. His expression has completely changed. What happened? They searched the office. When? An hour ago. Everyone looks at him. They found almost nothing. Minnie Hook. Nothing. Daniel shakes his head. The accounting servers were wiped. The filing cabinets emptied. The computers destroyed. Someone cleaned everything. Very recently. Arthur immediately says one name. Deborah. Daniel nods. I think she realized someone was getting close. Another knock. The bank manager returns. His face is noticeably tense. I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's another issue. What is it? He hesitates, then quietly says, Mrs. Hayes just reported the safety deposit box as stolen property. Silence. Arthur almost laughs. Not because it's funny, because it's desperate. Daniel immediately stands. She can't do that. Legally. No. But she did. Minnie Hook. As they begin discussing legal procedures, my phone vibrates again. This time, Lucas. I stare at the screen. Archie notices. You don't have to. I answer anyway. Grace. His voice is completely different. No arrogance. No entitlement. Only fear. I need you. I don't answer. He keeps talking. They're saying I committed fraud. Another pause. I don't even understand what happened. I close my eyes. For the first time in my life, I believe him. Then he whispers something that chills every person in the room. Mom told me you approved everything. Daniel immediately looks up. Arthur grips his cane. Because in one sentence, everything becomes clear. Deborah isn't trying to save Lucas. She's preparing to sacrifice him. I don't answer Lucas immediately. His breathing fills the silence between us. Fast. Uneven. For the first time in my life. He sounds like someone who has finally realized the ground beneath him was never solid. I never approved anything, I say quietly. I know. His answer comes so quickly that it catches me off guard. I know now. Another silence. Then, I just didn't know who else to call. Those words should satisfy me. They don't, because they reveal something far more tragic. My brother has spent his entire life believing our mother could solve every problem. And the moment she disappears, he calls the sister she taught him to ignore. I close my eyes. Memories begin colliding inside my head. Every birthday I sacrificed. Every promotion I postponed. Every emergency I solved. Every apology I made. Every time Lucas smiled while I carried responsibilities he never even noticed. For years, I believed he enjoyed it. Now, I wonder how much of it he ever truly understood. That thought hurts more than anger ever could. Grace. His voice is barely above a whisper now. Mom isn't answering me anymore. No surprise. Predators rarely stay beside collapsing prey. They simply move to the next escape. I don't answer. He keeps talking. The investigators came to the office. They asked questions I couldn't answer. They showed me documents I'd never seen. A long pause. They all had your signature. He sounds sick. Not manipulative. Not defensive. Simply broken. Minnie Hook. I'm hanging up now. Please. I can't fix this for you. I know. Another pause. I just wanted someone to tell me what was real. The line goes quiet. I slowly lower the phone. Nobody in the room says anything. Because there is nothing left to explain. Only consequences. Daniel is the first to break the silence. He's telling the truth. I look at him. How can you be sure? Because guilty people lie about facts. He closes the investigation folder. Victims ask what happened. That sentence lingers. Lucas isn't asking how to escape. He's asking how his own life became someone else's script. Arthur remains unusually quiet. His eyes stay fixed on the recorder. Finally, he speaks. Your grandmother knew this day would come. He reaches into the safety deposit box one last time. Until now, none of us notices one final envelope tucked beneath the journals. Smaller than the others. Older. Its edges have turned yellow. Across the front, only 3 handwritten words. After everything falls. Minnie Hook. Arthur hands it to me. This one wasn't for you. I look down. It isn't. Written beneath those words is my mother's name, Deborah. The room immediately changes. Nobody expected that. Not after everything we'd already found. Not after the journals. Not after the recording. Grandma had left one final letter. For the person who had caused all of this. I shouldn't read it. I almost place it back. Arthur gently shakes his head. Eleanor told me that if Deborah refused to read it herself, then Grace should. My fingers hesitate over the seal. For several seconds, I simply stare. Then, I open it. The handwriting is steady. There are no greetings, no affection, no anger. Only one sentence. If Grace is reading this instead of you, then you chose your pride over your children one final time. My throat tightens. I continue. Grandma writes that she spent years hoping Deborah would stop before it was too late. She believed every lie could still be undone, every relationship repaired, every wound acknowledged. But she also knew something else. Some people don't protect lies because they're evil. They protect them because they've forgotten who they are without them. Mini hook. Then comes another paragraph. The words seem almost impossible. One day you will convince yourself that sacrificing Lucas will save you. It won't, because the moment you choose one child to protect yourself from the other, you lose them both forever. Nobody breathes. Daniel slowly removes his glasses. Arthur closes his eyes. Not because he's surprised, because Eleanor predicted every single step. Even this one. I reach the final page. Only 3 lines remain. Grace, when Deborah finally stands alone, don't become the person she was. Walk away while you still recognize yourself. I stop reading. The room becomes impossibly quiet. For the first time since the accident, revenge doesn't feel satisfying. It feels heavy. Outside the private viewing room, raised voices echo through the bank. Fast footsteps. Someone arguing with security. Then, the branch manager rushes inside without knocking. His face is pale. They found her. Arthur immediately stands. My daughter! The manager nods. The police located Mrs. Hayes. No one speaks. Then he adds one final sentence. She wasn't trying to leave the country. A pause. She was trying to destroy the company's remaining records. Mini hook. Daniel exhales slowly. So that's it. The cover-up is over. No. The branch manager shakes his head. Not exactly. He looks directly at me. She gave an official statement before she was detained. My pulse quickens. What did she say? He hesitates, almost reluctant. Then, she claims every financial decision was approved by Grace Reynolds and carried out by Lucas Hayes without her knowledge. The room freezes. Exactly as Grandma predicted, Deborah has finally chosen, not between her children, between herself, and both of them. She sacrificed them together. Arthur slowly walks toward the window overlooking the street. His shoulders seem older than they did only hours earlier. I spent 30 years wondering whether she'd ever stop. He watches the police vehicles arriving outside. I never imagined she'd only stop after she had no one left to betray. Nobody answers him. Because below us, 2 police officers escort Deborah toward a waiting vehicle. She never looks up. She never searches for Lucas. She never asks about Emma. She never asks about me. For the first time in her life, there is no one left standing beside her. And somehow, that is a lonelier punishment than any prison could ever become.